For those of you who have used Congasign before, you are about to have the best training you've had. The differences between Conga and Docusign are, well, they couldn't be more different. I'll just put it that way. It means a little more work on the front end for me to set up the documents, but it makes life a lot easier for you on the back end, so that's good. Right now, no one has licenses while we're still setting up all of the documents, but I am open for comments, for questions, to try and make this to work as well as possible with everyone. So please feel free to interrupt as much as you need. I'm going to present for Salesforce. So once you're assigned a license for Docusign, you'll be able to go into your little 9 dots up in the top left corner here. And it won't be here originally, but if you hit View All, you'll be able to find the Docusign app launcher somewhere in here. You can always just search for Docusign, and you'll be able to find the apps launcher here. Here's where you can find the templates for Gen and Negotiate. We actually have 2 different products. I'm going to show both of those to you. The Docusign Generation and Collaboration and Negotiation. This is probably the 2 products that are having both of these is very exciting for what we're going to be using them for. So I'm just going to run through the signing process very quickly and show you both of them, and then let me know if you have any questions. We are back on our just test CMA CPA with distro, and you can see that I already have the DocuSign button here. Just like Congasign, you probably have generate contract document or send with DocuSign here, or sorry, send with Congasign. You'll have another button here that just says send DocuSign. You'll also have a little section here that says DocuSign envelope status, and you'll have a new tab here that says negotiate. And you can actually see I've been doing some testing, and there's a file here for negotiation. We'll get to that in a second. And the envelope status here is going to be very similar to the Congasign transactions that you're used to. It'll just let you tell the status of the envelope that you've sent. But let's dive in, and we'll send a DocuSign. So one of the things about Docusign is that it is far more dynamic in how we can build out templates. It allows us to bring in a whole bunch of information. So you're going to have a lot less problems with making unique information. We had problems bringing in full paragraphs. We had problems bringing in fields, too many fields. That's not an issue now. So we can always make the contracts more or less to what you need them to be. But basically, I just hit that button, and it gave me a new document that's generated. I can either download or preview it. The preview it seems to take a little longer. I'll show you that just by clicking here, and I'll get a screen. Oh, well, it's already done, just for me talking for that little bit. And you'll see that this is all within Salesforce. You could send this link to someone with DocuSign permissions, and they would be able to actually view the document themselves. You can download it. You can create a public link where somebody who doesn't even have a Salesforce license with us can view it. You could upload a new version of this document, although that is not something we would advise doing, or you could edit the file details, delete it, all of those things. So much like Congasign, I clicked that document, or I clicked create DocuSign essentially, and it pulled all the details of the from Salesforce into our template. Here at the top, it has the recording artist Rizzy Rob. It has my address. It looks like by between. Oh, it looks like it did not pull my name. So some of the template fields are not working correctly, clearly. I still have to work on that. But it did pull the correct time period, 18 months, and 1-year periods. Collection period also pulled. And then we have some dynamic language here about the master recordings. And based on responses inside the document, that gives us a certain group of language. And here is that language. Although I left some of the Conga fields in, so I have to fix that as well. These ones with the brackets are Conga fill fields, which is why the DocuSign was just like, I don't know what to do with these, so it put them up. So I'll fix those too. But you could see that it just basically fills out the document exactly like Conga does. One of the problems with DocuSign is that I'm used to using Conga, which means that we can't pull big lots of information from Salesforce. We have to basically write it into the template and then use triggers to turn it on or off. Docusign works the other way, where it prefers that we write big things of data into Salesforce and it just pulls them and throws them into the document. So it creates big spaces here when we don't have information that's triggered. So this is section 3A and section 4, which are not triggered, and it then creates a big space. So instead what I'm going to do is to move the language for 3A and 4 over to Salesforce, and then if it triggers the language, it'll throw it in there. If it doesn't, it will just have a small space there, so we don't have to worry about that as much. But you can see that here down in revenue share, still some of the issues that I'm working out with our Docusign rep. The spacing is not exactly right, but it did take out the 4 there, intentionally deleted, because we're not using merchandise on this particular one. I do have a load error here about the advances. But otherwise, it's going to look almost exactly like Conga does, where it's just going to fill in the template with fields, although we are still working out some of the kinks, like I can't get the signature to load, so we have to figure out why that is. But the schedule, that part we figured out, and the schedule is loading based on the objects, the schedule objects. So it is pulling the song for the schedule, as well as the ownership share and the client artist. So that should be a lot easier as people start to use schedules. So the question then would be, obviously, sending this to someone else. What do we do now as part of this process? So unlike Conga, again, where clicking back can just give you the dead screen, you should be able to go back because all of this is built within Salesforce's architecture. It's not something separate. So we have the new documents generated, and then we have 2 options down here at the right: send for signature or send for review. Under review, we have 2 different kinds of review. For those of you who are preparing contracts for someone else, meaning that there is someone on your team, a manager or an AR that you're preparing for, this is actually a really great tool so that you can pull and prep a contract, and then you can hit internal approval and mark anyone who is in Salesforce who has the license to come in and review this before it goes out, and maybe they can send it themselves. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, no one is in this yet. If I search for everyone except for Max, Max is the only user who currently has a license, so he's the only one I could actually send this approval for. If I did have a second one, I am the only other person. Oh, and it doesn't let me choose myself because I'm the one looking for it right now. So you can actually set an approval order where it sends to one and then the next, but for those of you who are preparing documents for other people, you could actually forward it to the approver internally, have them approve the contract as it stands before you send it out to a client. All that is taking place within Salesforce, so you don't have to download PDFs or Word docs or anything else. Another step for review is external review, and this is for clients who want to review the contract before they sign it, or if we need Alex Stoles to review any of the language or maybe update some of the language. So this allows for an external review. You can choose any of the contacts, including Alex Stoles, who is already one of my contacts and a Salesforce contact, so you should be able to look him up and send it to him. But let's just say that I'm going to send it to myself, if it's going to let me do that. Yep, here we go. And the due date is going to be 1 week from today, the 8th. So I need to have my review done by that point. This is just personalizing the email message: document sent for review, please review this document. But note that you can actually send to someone within the company. This is not necessarily meant for review outside the company. That will come at a later step. So after you send that, it will update this negotiate tab, where now you see this pending review at 12/1 at 14/14. This is the one that I am looking at now. I can download, I can copy the notes and attachments, I can share a link to this document, or I can show activity. I sent this document to me for external review. I'm going to go into my email real quick and grab the link to that. Sorry, 1 second. And I'll show you what that looks like. Let me move this over to my shared screen. So here's the inbox. It says, hey, document sent for review. Robert Cheek sent you this document for review. Please review this document at your earliest convenience. I hit review. It takes me to a Docusign screen. There are a few ways you can update or comment on this document to complete. Download and read the document, upload the document, review a new version, or add notes and messages in the comment field. So this allows me to download it, to make edits, and then upload a new version, or to make changes right inside this document. I believe... No, apparently it's telling me I have to do it by download. So let's say that I'm just going to do this real quick, which you guys probably won't be able to see. Oh, it downloads a PDF, which is not going to let me do it. I'm not going to go through all those steps. So I'm going to put the comments here and say, looks good to me, send for signature. Complete. And now, if I come back in here and I refresh, and I go over to negotiate, show activity, you see now it's marked reviewed, and I reviewed the document. Again, this is all me. But it's been marked that it's been reviewed, and essentially it's ready to be sent now. And this will allow me to send it for a further external review, for internal approval, or to send for signature. And again, seeing this nav bar at the top, we're all still within the Salesforce architecture. So it's all done within Salesforce, even though we're using something that looks very much like Docusign. And here I can download to see the changes. If someone does download it, make changes on the Word document, and then re-upload it, Docusign will automatically do comparison changes, and it'll show you what changes were made on the document in red here, just as if it was redlined like a normal redline document. So we don't have to worry about people making sure to keep the red lines on. It really helps us avoid changes that we are not aware of, which can happen on reviews, especially with people who are not necessarily lawyers. But let's just say that, okay, so now it's named CPA 2020-1201. I don't want to send it out for signature, so I'm going to rename it Rizzy Rob Distro Contract for signature. And add refresh. And you'll see that now the name has changed, which means the document that the next person receives will have that name rather than the working title that we've kind of been using it under, that's automatically created. And now I'm going to send for signature, and it's just as easy as clicking that button. It gets you to another screen. Again, this looks just like regular Docusign. It has already put the file that I created in Salesforce. I can add more documents from Salesforce if I want, like a payment request, give us your payment information, or I can upload my own documents from my computer. But I'm going to move on to recipients. Obviously, this person, whoever Rob Cheek is, needs to sign, but we need to have 2 signers, so I'm going to add signing order, and I'm going to add a recipient, and I think Richard Moreno is still the one who's signing all of our documents, so I'm going to add him as needs to sign, and he's going to sign second. I'm going to say that we just need to make extra E on the end there. Oh, that's right, Peter. You don't have a your own Salesforce account. So let's just make Dara. Dara is going to be a reviewer, and you'll see if I click here on needs to sign, there are a couple of options for signing. Needs to sign, in-person signer, embedded signer, receives a copy, just needs to view, specify recipients, allow to edit. Meaning you can send this under specify recipients to a manager, and they can say who needs to then sign it. You can give them the permission to edit it, although we don't really want to do that once we've reached this phase. I'm just going to mark Dara as needs to copy, CCing you for visibility. And then because I have a signing order here, I want to make sure to bump her up to the top. Oh wait, bump her up to the top. I'm going to mark myself as 2 and Richard as 3 so that we get everything in order. You can change the title, you can change the email message. I always like to have reminders in every 2 days and have the expiring after 30 days. I can add more recipients. I can view. This is the signing order diagram. I am the sender. It's going to go out to Dara on CC. It's then going to go to this guy for signature. It's going to go to Richard Moreno for signing, and then we'll get a thing marked completed. And I go to prepare and send. Or obviously I could click next up at the top right. And I heard the question. Give me just 1 second and we'll jump over to it. But for anybody who's used Docusign before, again, we are still within Salesforce, but it looks exactly like Docusign, and it'll allow you to review. Here's the flags. Oh, there's an initial here. There's an initial here. There's an initial here. There's an initial here. And again, there are no signatures because the signature thing didn't work. But once we fix that, there will be signatures there and initials on the final page. So all of that is just like regular DocuSign. And if I hit send, then I would be able to send it out for signature. I can preview the recipients now within this more familiar DocuSign space. This is what the person's going to see when they get the DocuSign. Viewing as the first signer, viewing as the second signer. I'm not going to sit and let all that load, but if you've used DocuSign before, you can see that this is essentially just like regular DocuSign. And then you hit send and it goes out for signature. Let me go back. Here we go. So let me go back to, and if I hit send, it would close that and just throw us back into the Salesforce space. But then an envelope would appear here for signature, and then you can just track it as you would any of the conga signs. It'll tell you when it's complete. When it's complete, we're going to have it so that it still marks closed won, and all those processes that we have already ready start running just like they would for conga sign. So. Let me get back to the call here and look at the questions. Yes, Peter, we should make you one, absolutely. So we'll get you in there as well. So does anyone have thoughts, comments about DocuSign? About the process? About any, obviously it's not ready yet. You can see that it's a big change from Conga, where we were basically using full templates and then turning things on and off. DocuSign says put that language on the opportunity and we'll pull it in, and that's how we avoid those big gaps. So we're still working on that part of it. And the triggers are completely different, so we have to basically rewrite the templates. But otherwise, it should be set up in the next few weeks so that we can just use it. And there'll be different buttons here. When you hit send DocuSign on a distro CMA CPA, it will send that particular template. When you do it on a CMA CPA, it'll send that template. On a CMA, it'll send that template. It'll just all be set to only send what you need. You won't have to worry about choosing a template from that interacting screen or having the wrong one pop up. They are tied directly to that opportunity type. Any questions, especially from Peter, Ashley, Dara, Ella? I know you guys actually send the contracts out. Any concerns about Conga versus DocuSign?
I think this is going to be a lot better than Conga.
And I was thinking a lot about your situation, Ella, with having some things go to Sid, and this would be super easy for you to pull and send to Sid and have him review. It's right there in Salesforce, and then be able to have you send it out, etc. So.
Yeah, for sure. Sid and I will be very, very happy with these features.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone? So I guess also keeping in mind, we are still developing it. So some of this stuff is just how DocuSign interacts, but if anyone has thoughts about how it could work better with your workflow, buttons I just find to be super easy. not having things spawn automatically so that it happens before you're ready for it. But when you're ready, you hit send, and you send with Docusign, and it's off, and it starts that process. Like I said, it should be pretty straightforward and not multi-leveled. It's not Conga Sign versus Conga Composer, and you have to pull it and check it. It'll all just be stages through one Docusign process, so it should make life a little easier.
That looks good. When are we gonna start using it?
Probably not until after the first of the year. Right now, this distro CMA CPA is literally the only template we have in, and as you can see, it's not correct. We literally are just going template by template, trying to change from Conga over to Docusign. Ironically, if we didn't have Conga first, it would probably be a little easier, but we're trying to take Conga Sign templates and make them Docusign, so it's very time intensive to make the changes. But
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I don't have questions right now, but I'm guessing once I'm using it, I might have more.
And I think one of the best things is that you don't have to actually, as you guys could see, you don't have to actually pull it to see the errors. Inside of the Docusign itself, it pulled up the template error. So I know one issue that especially the pop team has been having is that for whatever reason, certain fields aren't pulling in Conga, and you can't really see it until you get to the end, and you actually have the document itself. Here you'd be able to see the error. Also, field permissions, which I suspect are the reason we're having that problem, don't come into play here, because Docusign essentially has admin permissions, and if you have a Docusign permission, it doesn't matter what your field permissions are, it will be able to pull the data, which means I can hide all that stuff under field permissions so it doesn't take up room on your view, but Docusign can still access it, pull it, and put it in the contract, which is one of the issues we're having, I think, with you guys pulling data into your contracts right now. So it solves a lot of the problems. But if nobody has anything else, I can give you back 30 minutes of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll have follow-up stuff as we get more along. But the process that you just saw is essentially how it will work for everything. It'll literally just be, there will be a button here. Everyone's may look a little different depending on how their opportunities are set up, but there is always 2 or 3 buttons at the top with a drop down. The first one will be send Docusign. You click that wherever it is, up top, over on the left, on the right, down at the bottom, wherever your team has decided to put it, it'll be there. You click it, and it'll take you through those steps for this particular opportunity, and then fill in everything based on whatever you have here. If something's missing, then you can go directly back in and just say, oh, that's right, I didn't check whatever box. Let me check that box, and then move it back over and make sure that it fills out correctly. But yeah, hopefully it'll make life a lot easier for those of you who are sending it out. It also allows us to do things like that Conga wouldn't allow us to do. Like you can see that I've added include FSO language, OBO signer, client, minor child, that well, these two were there before, but essentially it's going to pick and choose to throw some language in based on those checkboxes so that you can add more than one. So you can have both the FSO and the minor child along with the signature, which I know again is a pop team thing that has come up before. Another thing that we'll be able to do for the pop team, well, it pops up into my head more for the pop team, is you'll be able to select the number of signers, and then it will give you signing lines for up to 5 signers.
Oh yeah, that'll be great.
So hopefully you won't have to do that, at least that part of the editing too, pulling it out and just putting in lines for multiple signers. So the template should be there for 1 signer, 2 signers, 3 signers, 4 signers, 5, plus create signer on top. I think that's the max that we can do anyway through Docusign. So, but yep. So if anybody has any questions in the future, let me know. I will let you guys know through Slack when it rolls out for testing, especially. Those of you who have a little more experience on Salesforce will probably get the licenses first so that we can test. And then it'll roll out to everybody by the first of the year, and just keep me posted on changes, updates, things that we can make to life a little easier. But it should be pretty easy to use from the beginning. Yep. Thank you guys for taking the time. And that'll wrap up our last Salesforce training. So if anybody has any ideas for the future, keep me posted. I'm happy to do more.